You're ready, Conrad.
Well, I can call this to order, but we're never to order, so we can't do that. Welcome to the July meeting of the Winnsboro Live Poet Society for the first time here at the Culture Club Art Gallery. This is too complicated. We thank Vic Clark for offering his nice building for us. Donnie Ditto, who was our host tonight, providing us with refreshments. And we appreciate that. I've got a bunch of announcements. Probably not the opposite over here. Right now we've got the children's drama camp going on at the Art Center. They will perform tomorrow night, which is Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon. And it's, I believe the name of it is Kids in Outer Space. They may have changed it, but it's an outer space kind of thing. So be prepared to see kids doing science fiction tomorrow. Coming back.
We're going to need a sound system, aren't we?
Yeah.
I didn't think about bringing one. I've got a little PA.
Got a sound system that's handy?
It's just a microphone, a little bitty speaker.
That's fine. My voice isn't as strong as it used to be when I was younger. Not younger anymore. We'll wait till we can hear me better.
Making funny noises over.
That's me. I make those funny noises. Just a specialty I have. It's
Thank you.
not only am I on stage with a lectern, but I have a microphone and amplifier.
That definitely wasn't in my contract.
No,
The stage wasn't.
you don't have to use this if you don't want to. Anyway, the announcements: the kids drama camp will perform tomorrow night at 7, and Sunday afternoon at 2. I don't know what the prices are. They're usually about $10 or less. This is kids all ages. My friend George Galliardo leads them. They write a musical, usually a musical comedy, the first week, and then the second week, which is this week, they make costumes, build sets, and rehearse it, run the lines, and then Saturday night they perform it on Sunday afternoon. It's a great camp, and if you can possibly make it to one of those performances, you will not be disappointed. Other announcements. Next, a week from tomorrow, the 28th, Maria Moldau will be here in Winnsboro. That performance starts at 7:30. General admission tickets are $20. I don't know what the reserves are. You can check with the Art Center for that. Also, in Silver Springs, for those of you interested in Ren fairs and jousting tournaments, there on the 28th and 29th, which is Saturday and Sunday of next weekend, at the Hopkins County Civic Center, the Shadow Renaissance Festival and Tournament will take place. And I don't know what the deal is to get in there, but they will be doing jousting tournaments, among other things. Also, in Mineola on Saturday, August 4th, which is 2 weeks from tonight, at the Mineola Civic Center, the East Texas Elvis Explosion will be there, and there'll be a lot of Elvises hanging out, doing their thing. Again, for pricing, call up the Mineola Civic Center. And then just a reminder that coming up starting in September is the Winnsboro Center for the Arts Classical Music Series. That will be September, October, November, and January. There'll be one concert each month, and they're always great. They're usually local Monday Night Live will start again in September and continue through November, third Monday of the month on Market Street. And of course, we have the farmers market every Saturday morning from 8 to noon until the end of October. So these are all the current events going on that I know about. I'm sure Doc or Joe Dan will tell you about what's happening tomorrow night over at Tenny Chapel. I will not talk about that because Joe Dan has a schedule for that. So that's it. That's my. I was going to read from 6 different books today, but I figured that would take all night. So because I don't read very fast, and so I picked 3 of them, and I'll pick one out of each book. I've read out of 2 of these before. One of them is called A Treasury of Best-Loved Poems, edited by Lewis Phillips. I don't know who Lewis is or was, but I'll pick something out of there. I'm going to read at least one out of the Ogden Nash book. Everyone knows how much I love Ogden Nash. The book title is Faces Familiar. I've read out of it before. Published in 1941, which was actually before I was born. I don't read from any of those. And then I've got, I'm going to read one poem out of a book. This is part of a 6-volume set of poetry. It's an anthology of the world's best poems, selected by Edwin Martin. This is the Memorial Edition. You should know that. What makes that special? What makes it special is I have a picture in here of our society many years ago. Some of these people are no longer with us.
Is there a date on that?
There is a date on here of March 16, 2012. And it was at the Emporium. This is when the Emporium was on Main Street. So this is a long time ago, 6 years ago. You're ready.
I was just going to say, I'm still alive.
Yeah, you and me.
I'm still part of the life.
We're still alive.
You are.
Anyway, this book was originally published in 1926. This is the 1948 edition. And I'm just going to pick a poem and read it. I'll read this one, but it's 3 pages, 2 pages. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Everyone ever heard of him? This is called The Humble Bee. Burly, dozing, humble bee, where thou art is clime for me. Let them sail for Puerto Rico, far off hearts through seas to seek. I will follow thee alone, thou animated torrent zone. Zigzag steerer, desert cheerer, let me chase thy raving lines, keep me nearer. Me, thy hearer, singing over shrubs and vines. Insect lover of the sun, join in thy dominion. Sailor of the atmosphere, swimmer through the waves of air, voyager of light and noon, Epicurean of June. Wait, I prithee, till I come within earshot of thy hum. All without is martyrdom. When the south wind in May days, with a net of shining haze, silvers the horizon wall, and with softness touching all, tints of human countenance, with the color of romance, and infusing subtle heats, turn the sod to violets. Thou in sunny solitudes, rover of the underwoods, the green silence dost displace with thy mellow, breezy face. Hot midsummer's tenant crone, sweet to me thy drowsy tone, tells of countless sunny hours, long days, and solid banks of flowers, of gulfs of sweetness without bound, in Indian wildernesses Syrian peace, immortal leisure, firmest cheer and bird-like pleasure. Aught unsavory and unclean hath mine insect never seen, but violets and bilberry bells, maple sap and daffodils, grass with green flag half-mast high, starry to match the sky, columbine with horn of honey, scented fern and agrimony, clover, catchfly, adder's tongue, and brief roses dwelt among, all beside an unknown waste. All was pictured as he passed. Wiser far than human seer, yellow-breeched philosopher, seeing only what is fair, sipping only what is sweet, thou dost mock at fate and care, leave the chaff and take the wheat. With a fierce northwestern blast cools sea and land so far and fast. Thou already slumberest deep, woe and want thou canst outsleep. Want and woe which torture us, thy sleep makes ridiculous. Ralph Waldo Emerson, Humble Eve. Take one at random here. I'm going to do Ode to a Nightingale. You've heard that before. It's very long. Here's one by Emily Dickinson. You may have heard of her. A bird came down the walk. A bird came down the walk. He did not know I saw. He bit an angleworm in halves and ate the fellow raw. Then he drank a dew from a convenient grass, and then hopped sideways to the wall till then a beetle passed. He glanced with rapid eyes that hurried all around. They looked like frightened bees, I thought. He stirred his velvet head. Like one in danger, cautious, I offered him a crumb, and he unrolled his feathers and rolled in softer home. Then oars divide the ocean to silver for a seam, or butterflies off banks of noon leap flashless as they swim. Emily Dickinson. Last but certainly not least is Ogden Nash. This one is called I Yield to My Learned Brother, or Is There a Candlestick Maker in the House? The doctor gets you when you're born, the preacher when you're married, and the lawyer lurks with costly clerks if too much on you carry. Professional men, they have no cares, whatever happens, they get fares. You can't say when to professional men, for it's always when today. They go out and golf with the big bad wolf in the most familiar way. Hard times for them contain no terrors. Their income springs from human errors. The butcher you can do without, and eat the jolly baker. And it's childish sport if you wish to thwart the plaintiff candlestick maker. For they are not professional men, and we can spare that amount men. But the noblest lord is ushered in by a practicing physician, and the noblest lout is ushered out by a certified mortician. And in between, they find their foyers alive with summonses from lawyers. Oh, would my parents long ago had memorized this motto, for then might I their offspring buy a Rolls or an Lesotho. But now I fear I never can, for I am no professional man. You can't say when to professional men, for it's always when today. They were doing fine in '29, and they're doing fine today. When Beacon does their pass illuminate, to wit, to air, is always humine. Ogden Nash. One little one by Ogden Nash is very short, and then I'll pass the mic, or not, depending on how you feel about it. You can speak loud like you don't need the mic, so. The centipede. I abjuricate the centipede, a bug we do not really need. At sleepy time, he beats a path straight to the bedroom or the bath. You always wallop where he's not, or if he is, he makes a stop.
Attaboy, comrade!
Going next? Or you guys want me to?
Oh, you gonna go or me?
I was going to read from T.S. Eliot Dawson's book, and 101 Great Poems by somebody wrote, and Tall Tales Over Short Fences by Mike Ashworth, but I decided not to do it. Thank you.
I'll give it a whirl, because Godwin says that 7 o'clock is my witching hour.
Oh, boy. Turn into a witch?
I don't know, it is a witching hour too.
You like it?
Okay, I'm not getting up, no.
Okay. Microphone is off, I wanted to speak.
It's too professional for me.
Yeah.
No videos with this program.
No video to go down, you'll have to turn the video off.
So I've gone to Tucson, where actually it's cooler today than here. I've gone, do I need this, or is my voice carried?
You're good.
All right, that's good. If it doesn't, let me know. All right, so I've gone to Tucson, and I joined the Y finally, and I've been taking Qigong. Qigong is kind of a Tai Chi thing. We do it for an hour, and we hold poses, you know. Oh, God. Anyway, I'm from a Qigong. But in the middle of these poses, the teacher always says certain things. He has us breathe in, and then we push out that which does not serve us. And I like that. So in some of these poses, at the end, he says, in silence, you'll find your true self. And I mulled that one over for about 7 months, and this is my poem. It is in silence. It is in silence you find your true self. Lonely girl, overweight and underloved. After too many people crowded together on one city block, she and her city dog became marooned in a country of sagebrush and tumbleweeds. It took a year of isolation, a year of no bike riding, a year of few books from the library, a year of no friends. No choice but to make friends with the growing living things around her. The ancient California oaks, the 6-foot black and white striped king snake, the horned toad, the owls, clover and buttercups, lupin and yucca blossoms became companions. Each month the moon seen through oak branches from her bedroom window waxed and waned, and sometimes in the quiet night a fairy mist rose up, the hunting owl called, and she slipped outside to dance in the silence on the lawn. And this was written for Penny, my colleague, Bonnie Lee, the girl, and the lost world of 1950 Placerita Canyon, her creatures and her magnificent oaks. I lived up above Los Angeles, 35 miles after we moved from the inner city. And in those days, that was a country that was filmed in Gunsmoke, High Chaparral, have Gun Will Travel that was all shot down the road from me at Movie Town, which burnt when my house burned in 1962. And I think what I learned in that silence was how to be alone and not lonely, which has served me in great stead. So I wrote a poem from within. Ogden Nash writes poems that are funny, but they're always true. And I love the part of poetry that is always true. It's like a raindrop. Perfect. Thank you.
Probably won't need light.
I think you should use it.
Yeah.
Are you sure you won't need that?
It'll,
Yeah.
Hard of hearing here.
I'm hard of hearing too. That's all right.
That's a monster chap.
Gotcha. I've never used the mic before. Alright, my first one's called Shut Me Up, and it's inspired by Shut Me Up by MSI, Mindless Self-Indulgence. They're an acid rock band. If you don't know who they are. Alright. Shut me up. The alphabets, their letters, the literatures, their writers, the poems, their poets, the plays, their playwrights, the books, their authors, the short stories, their writers, the novellas and novelettes, their writers, the mics, the spoken words. I like my written art of words, just like I like my own created art of words. The alphabets, their letters, the literatures, their writers, the poems, their poets, the plays, their playwrights, the books, their authors, the short stories, their writers, the novellas and novelettes, their writers, the mics, the spoken words. I like my written arts, just like I like my own created art of words. I can't wait for you to try and shut me up every second, every minute, every hour, every day, every night, every week, every month, every year of my life. I can't wait for you to try and shut me up by yelling it, shut it up, every time I read my poetry aloud, every time I speak my mind on anything, every time I voice my opinion on everything, every time I voice, sorry. I just messed up, sorry. Every time I mention my truths that don't jive with your truths, every time I say a joke and you take it to be serious and get butthurt over it, every time I answer your questions and they differ from your answers, the alphabets, their letters, the literatures, their writers, the poems, their poets, the plays, the playwrights, the books, their authors, the short stories, their writers, the novellas and novelettes, the writers, the open mics, the spoken words. I like my written art of words, just like I like my own created art of words. The alphabets, their letters, the literatures, their writers, the poems, their poets, the plays, their playwrights, the books, their authors, the short stories, their writers, the novellas and novelettes, their writers, the open mics, the spoken words. I like my written art of words, just like I like my own created art of words. I can't wait for you to try and shut me up and make me even more popular and become the most talked about, unstable poet. I can't wait for you to try and shut me up and make me even more popular and become the most talked about, unshuttable poet. I never found it funny, not then, and especially not now. I just want my own art of words to be heard and read throughout the world. Is this too much to ask for? I never found it funny, not then, and especially not now. I just want my own created art of words to be heard and read throughout the world. Is this too much to ask for? Because of the fame, the clout, the renowns, I can't wait for you to try and shut me up and make me even more popular and to become the most talked about, unshuttable poet. I can't wait for you to try and shut me up by yelling, "Shut it up." I can't wait for you to try and shut me up and make me even more popular and become the most talked about, unshuttable poet. I can't wait for you to try and shut me up by yelling, "Shut it up." That's in peace. All right, and this is the next one is Sir talks a lot. It's not so long. All right. Sir talks a lot. He's a talking every second. He's a talking every minute. He's a talking every hour. He's a talking all day. He's a talking all afternoon. He's a talking all evening. He's a talking all night. He's a talking. Oh, he's always a talking a lot. He's a talking every week. He's a talking every month. He's a talking every year. His nickname is Sir Talks a Lot because he never shuts up. A talking all of the time is all he ever knows. A talking all the time helps him distract from his problems. A talking all the time sidetracks him from focusing on his life. A talking all the time is quite therapeutic for him. A talking all the time was caused by psychological scars from his upbringing and his military service. By being shut up all the time, a talking all the time balances his ups and downs of life from one extreme to the next. A talking all the time helps him conquer his anger, anxiety, bipolar, manic depression, and among other things that plague him. A talking all the time helps him get the attention that he wants from other people, which is wanted, need, ever since his childhood, where his mother and father never truly cared or even felt this need for him. A talking all the time helps him overcome so many things. A talking all of the time, and he is extremely aware that he does this, and even tells his friends, family, and co-workers that he talks too much. Just tell him to, if he talks too much, just tell him to shut up. A talking is a form of meditation and a coping mechanism as well for him. People make fun of him because he's a talking all of the time. They don't understand why he talks a lot. However, he never lets them bother him. He is the way he is because he is a byproduct of his past and tries to carry on with his life as if nothing ever happened. That's in peace. That's it.
This is one that I just call Cowboy's Way.
You're gonna have to use the microphone because none of
Have on ears, everybody else is doing good, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Okay. On?
No,
There.
Yeah.
not yet.
It says on.
Just
No. I hear it. Is it
there.
there? It is.
Thank you.
Okay. The Cowboy's life. Did you ever wonder about a cowboy's life with all the hardships, trouble, and strife? Did you wonder how he could keep those vows to a horse, a dog, and a bunch of cows? Out riding and roping all day, till the work's all done, there's no time to play. Up in the morning before sunrise, and work until after dark. That's no surprise. Did you ever wonder what it is about cattle that makes him ride all day in a saddle? Ask a cowboy why he does it. He'll tell you. It's because he loves it. So I've got some more here, but I did not write it. This is called Cow Sins. It's written by Bruce Sir-Kegian, who died in the 50s, I believe.
What's the title?
Cow Sins. Is it still working?
Yep.
Okay. You've heard people say, as dumb as a cow. Well, they ain't seen much cattle. I'll tell you right now. A cow, she knows more than some people by half. She's the only living thing that can savvy a calf. A cow doesn't know nothing, Well, how do you think they suckle young calves and walk miles for a drink? You've watched an old cow, or I reckon if you did, if she had a young one, she kept it well hidden. She has planted out yonder, just where it can't be found, and she won't go near there if anything is around. You just make that calf give a joke or a bellow, and that old cow is there to charge a fellow. If there's several young calves in a bunch, you will see when their moms go to drink, they leave one cow behind. And when they get full and come back to the bunch, she goes to get her a drink and some lunch. You can talk of day nurseries, I reckon is how they was firstly invented by a cow. Perhaps you've noticed sometimes on a drive with cow, men, and horses, more dead than alive. When you got near the water, as soon as they stopped scent, the old cow went hickety spit. Then the drag was all the calves, but didn't forget it. When they drunk, they came back, they sure didn't forget it. They let their calves suck and kept out of the rush, so that them calves don't get in the mud and the crush. I'm telling you people, without any jokes, a cow can make better parents than plenty of folks. If both the thing that's over, I reckon is how, they wouldn't be safe as dumb as a cow. Okay. This is by Will Sturgeon, The Real Thing. Well, the whole country's watching the world of the cowboy and trying to copy his life. They're wearing his clothes and playing his roles, but they don't have a clue of the strike. They think it's all glamour with horses and saddles and Saturday night at the bar. But if you have all those ponies and put them on, excuse me, if you all had those ponies and put them on the ponies, I don't think they'd get very far. Would they rise before sunup and work till midnight, then get up at 4 and start again? Could they work without crying, complaining, or sighing, or even trying to even the score? Sure, there's a lot to be said for just lying in bed and reading Louis L'Amour, but if they had to live, really get out and do it, you think they would come back for more. As a cowboy is a stoic, a self-styled heroic who believes you ride for the brand. So you work without bitching or get out of the kitchen and leave the job for a waddy with sand. So if you think you're a waddy because you're wearing his clothes, a big Stetson hat and boots with pointed toes, just remember, cowboys have shit on their soles. And this last one, just about everything has a day. National Potato Day or whatever. Next Saturday, July 28th, it's always July 28th, no matter what day it is the National Day of the Cowboy. And I'll be in Fort Worth next Saturday because they have a big Day of the Cowboy deal. And this was called the Day of the Cowboys by Smokey Cole. Cowboys in Texas, there's something about it. They fit like a hand in a glove. And the Day of the Cowboy is one that we celebrate big in this state that we love. From the Panhandle down to the Rio Grande, from the West Texas Plains to the coast. There's no place else like her, and cowboys are part of our history we love the most. From the days before barbed wire when cattle roamed free, where a six-shooter was the last word, and the cowboys and drovers, they spent all their day on the range watching over the herd. Before railroads began to roll out through the West, Texas Rangers kept that guys in line. Things aren't the same now. The cowboys are cowboys, and they still don't like being confined. There's a history here and a heritage deep. They've seen beauty. They've ridden through hell. Those cowboys are a part of our legacy. And there will always be stories to tell. Now the modern-day cowboy, a lot like the ones that we read at in the old Western tales. He's a cowboy. He's going to be what he is in his pickup and riding trail. So God bless the cowboy and keep him around for another few centuries yet. There's none other like him, and it's up to us to see that we never forget. That's it.
Did you write the
No, that was Bruce Kiss Cat. He
Is-
was born in the late 1800s. He died in 1950.
Jim, is he the one that wrote that Bronco Twister poem?
Maybe not familiar with that.
That was one that I read here a year or so ago, which you said was a well-known.
Okay, yeah, I remember that now, yeah.
He's the same one. I thought that sounded like his name.
I'm going to start on a poem that I found. It was from The Trail Dust of a Maverick, 1914. It's the passing of the Old West. The West ain't what it used to be before the wired brands were stretched out on every side and fencing in the lands. There ain't the elbow room there was before the nester came and squatted on the virgin soil to cultivate the same. It used to be so big and wide, so boundless and so free. And it was stretching out in its arms saying, "Come to me." And we, who had our cattle herds, we let them roam at will. There wasn't any grazing zone on valley, swale, or hill. The West was boundless. There was room for all and room to spare. Each cattleman was free to say that he was treated fair. Before the plow and the reaper, why, we simply came and went. And with our herds a waxing flat, the count was content. But now it's all changed. They hemmed us in and told us thus and so, and they have fixed the boundaries where we may come and go. We've got to hold on our herds in hand and fight for lands to graze, because there ain't a running things as it's good old days. The sunset of our day is getting dimmer in the skies. They're forcing us to leave the lands we won and which we prize. It won't be long till cattleland is just a memory, a vision of the old frontier in the days that used to be. Like I said, it's from The Trail Dust of Maverick in 1914. Wow.
And who was the author of that?
Didn't say, it was The Trail Dust in 1914. I tried to find out. Beans, I brought my glasses.
Oh, I didn't.
You want mine?
No, it's okay. I know Joe Dan has sung this song, and I've heard Orvin.
Glenn Orland.
Yeah, I heard him do it, and it's, but to hear the words rather than the song, because you're paying attention to the music and all that, and having fun up there on the stage that we did, Joe Dan. It's Little Joe the Wrangler, and I've always loved that, but I wanted to read it tonight.
Yeah.
It's Little Joe the Wrangler. He'll wrangle nevermore. His days with the Remonds, they are ever over. Thus a year ago, last April, when he rode into our camp, just a little Texas stray and all alone. Our little Texas pony he called Chalk. With his brogan shoes and overalls, a tougher kid you'd never in your life before had saw. His saddle was a Texas cat, built many years ago, with an OK spur on the foot lightly swung. His hot rolled in a cotton sack so loosely tied behind, and the canteen from the saddle horn was swung. He said that he had to leave his home. His pa had married twice. So he saddled up old Charles and one night and let it shut this way. and he's now trying to paddle his own canoe. He said if we would give him work, he'd do the best he could, though he didn't know straight up about accounting. That's all I knew when I come here. So the boss, he cut him out a mount and kindly put him on. For he sort of liked this little kid somehow. Learned to wrangle horses and try to know them all and get them in the daylight if he could. To follow the chuck wagon and always hitch the team. And to help the Comsero Russell Wood. That's a new word for me. We had driven to the Pecos, the weather being fine. We had camped on the south side of the bend. When the northern commenced blowing, we had doubled up our guard, for it had taken all of us to hold them in. Little Joe the Wrangler was called out with the rest, though the kid had scarcely reached the herd. When the cattle they stampeded like a hailstorm along they fled. Then we were all riding for the lead. Missed the streaks of lightning a horse we could see in the lead. 'Twas Little Joe the Wrangler in the lead. He was riding old Blue Rocket with a slicker over his head and trying to check the cattle in their speed. At last we got them milling and kind of quenched down, quieting down. And the extra guard back to the wagon went. But there was one missing, and we knew at a glance. It was our little Texas stray, poor Wrangler Joe. The next morning, just at daybreak, we found where Rocket fell, down in the washout, 20 feet below, and beneath the horse, matched to a plot, his spur had rung the nail, was a little Texas stray, poor Wrangler Joe. Thank you. That's all I got.
Look at these, do you have the red dot showing
Yeah.
on the screen? Okay,
Sure do.
It's fine.
Okay, I'm sorry.
This is a book, an interesting book. It's so interesting, I'll give it a plug here. It's called Where Are They Buried and How Did They Die? And one of the people listed in this, and this was the reason I wanted the book, was because it had Charles Lindbergh's that details listed in it. And I wanted to read and everybody knows who Charles Lindbergh was, the first person to fly solo, or at all, between the first person to take a plane from New York to Paris. And there was a $25,000 prize for that. A lot of people had died trying to earn that $25,000. And until Charles Lindbergh did it, everybody had failed. They either had to come back or they had died and are never heard from again. Charles Lindbergh did it, and then he became for several years the most famous person in the world, certainly in America and probably the world for a long time. I remember when he died, some of you may recall in the 70s, it was big news. He had cancer, and it was terminal. And he decided that he wanted to be buried in Hawaii. And there was a background story on that, which I won't go into, but they had a home in Hawaii.
In Hana. We went to go see his grave, Hana.
Well, that's what I'm about to read is about. This was, he had a little church there near Kipahula, a congregational church. They had a small cemetery. And the cemetery overlooks a cliff that right overlooks the ocean. And, when I heard that he wanted to be buried in Hawaii, I was puzzled, because at that time I'd never been to Hawaii. Since then, I've been 2 times, once in 1980 and once in 1982, because I had relatives there at the time. And in 1980, I decided, it was a 1982 trip, that we went to Hana and drove the road to Hana. which is quite a, 4.5 hours and a treacherous road. The only road I've ever been on that was more dangerous was the Yumas Road in Bolivia. But you have to go all the way up that road to Hana, and then, and the reason I wanted to go was to see Lindbergh's grave. And at that time, in the early 1980s, when you got up to Hana, and then you got out of it, and this little church is that way out in the boonies, or it was at that time, there's a sign on the road that tells you to not go any further, turn around and go back, road not open. Well, I went on anyway, and found the church. They were doing some construction and all that sort of thing. The reason it wasn't safe at the time. I'm sure it's safe now, but I knew I wouldn't be back. I'd never have another chance, so I just went on and found the little church. And I was so overwhelmed, I guess would be the word, at the view and the solitude of this place. I could understand, just standing there in that little small cemetery, overlooking the ocean, and at the plainness of the cemetery, and the plainness of Lindbergh's grave. There's not any big heads. It's a little flat headstone, flat stone on his grave. And there was, at that time, there was a little small, tiny, like 4 or 5 inch American flag somebody had stuck in the ground beside the stone. And there were little seashells sprinkled around it and things like that. But otherwise, it looked like every other grave there. You had to be looking for Lindbergh's grave to find it. And I have since written a little about it myself. This, what I'm reading, is not my words, but I was struck by how well this describes it. It says, before Charles died, he sketched a simple design for his coffin and grave. He was buried under the shade of a Java plum tree at Palapala, Paoma Congregational Church Cemetery in Kipahula on the Hawaiian island of Maui. The epitaph is Psalm 139, 9 and 10. It reads, if I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea. I'll read it again since I've loved it. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea. Now that is so appropriate, for Charles Lindbergh's epitaph, and only if you have stood there in the silence of that little cemetery can you understand, and Bonnie has done that, how striking and moving and just unbelievably, it's an unbelievable experience. It's one, to me, it was one of easily the highlight of my trip to Hawaii, and in many cases a highlight of my life to have been to that place and experience that grave. Everybody who goes there should take the time to visit that grave. And then
I often thought that tortuous road, the road to Hana, they've got bumper stickers for your car that said, I took the road to Hana, or I've driven the road. It's so horrible.
Yeah.
It still was horrible. But it was like his life, and ended at this beautiful spot.
Most of it is one room for only one car, and if you meet somebody, somebody's got to back up. And the Yumas Road is even in Brazil is even worse. I mean, in Bolivia is even worse, but it's not as long as the road to Hana. I'm going to read a little thing that I did write back in January of 1999. It's what I call lyrical prose. It isn't technically poetry, I guess, unless you think of it as a free verse or something like that. But at the time I wrote this, Zonnie Griffin, I was 2 years back in this area from living in 5 or 6 other states. And I was back home at my home church, Tenny Chapel. And Zonnie Griffin was the editor of a little print newsletter at that time, and she asked me if I would write something regularly for the church, and that was my only assignment, write something regularly. So I came up with the idea of a little one-page, no more than a page, essay that I would do each time. And this one I did in January of '99 as a tribute to the death or the funeral of Ellie Miller Newton. Ellie Miller, Ella, we call her Ellie. And she married Arvin Newton, who was my first cousin. And so I knew her all of my life as Aunt Ellie. And kind of close family. And her son and I went to A&M together. Spent our freshman year at A&M together. So I was asked to do the eulogy for her funeral, and I did. I broke down a few times in it, but I got through it. And then I wrote this little one-page essay for the Tenny Chapel print newsletter. And I called it Home Again, Jiggity Jew. Now that should ring a bell with all of you. Maybe it'll come back to you if you're not thinking about it. This was the trademark greeting that Ella Miller Newton, 1912, 1999, or 1998, always reserved for the successful completion of the journey she enjoyed most, coming home. It did not matter whether she was returning from a distant city or an errand just down the road. Somewhere between her car and her castle, Ella would chant the ancient children's nursery rhyme they had all heard in her youth and promptly forgot. Ella never really surrendered her little girl outlook on life. Wide-eyed optimism, certain innocence, trust, hope, faith, patience, family loyalty, and like Dorothy in the Land of Oz, a bedrock belief that there's no place like home. No, we can all be certain that Ella was familiar with the description of the capable wife in chapter 31 of the Old Testament book of Proverbs. She likely considered it a mission statement for her life. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Ella Miller would be the sixth of 7 children in a household where the first priority, education, was never in doubt. She earned a teaching certificate in 1930, the same year she married Arvin Newton. Ella's teaching salary allowed her to buy a wagon for her new husband's team of mules. Her wages also allowed them to buy their first house and launched Arvin's storied career as this area's most eclectic and highly successful entrepreneur. Perhaps the combination of a new marriage and a new house eventually prompted Ella to step down from a new mule-drawn wagon, hand in hand with her new husband, to chant for the first time as an adult, home again, jiggity jig. For more than 20 years, Ella was the voice of Tenny Chapel, the community as well as the church. She was perhaps the star correspondent for the Winnsboro News during its golden era of community journalism, then championed by editor-publisher Gregory Jones. It was the first thing we looked for, recalls Corinne Tenny. Ella's column molded the community. At one time or another, Ella filled just about every leadership position in the Tenny Chapel Church. Once, several years ago, a new preacher arrived and asked each officer and teacher to explain their job descriptions. When Ella's turn came, she said, "Pastor, my job is to teach brandy." That pastor, Fred Durham, who later became mayor of Winnsboro, said, and now in Dallas, has told this story countless times as an example of dedication. The attitude that it's important to spend time researching and preparing a Sunday school lesson, whether you have 100 students or just one named Brandy. Everyone who knew Ella knows where she has gone for the final time. Upon arrival, we know exactly what she said. Home again, home again. Jeez. Thank you. We always conclude, you know, with
I'm going to have to conclude now, and I just love seeing everybody. I'm so glad to see new faces.
will you be back next time?
I will be back next time, as good as anyone can make a promise for next time, huh?
Good to see you.
God bless you all.
God bless you.
And you as well. We always end with a paragraph from How to Read a Poem and Fall in Love with Poetry by Edward Hirsch. And this month's poem, or paragraph is, we make out of the quarrel with others rhetoric, but of the quarrel with ourselves, poetry. W.B. Yeats asserts in one of his poems, 1917, and Orton's poem seems to inscribe that self-challenging notion of the lyric. From the beginning, a small elegy dramatically established that the speaker, a stand-in for the poet, is by himself talking to himself. He was with other people, but now he's completely alone. His friends gone, his beloved sleeping elsewhere, unconscious, far away. The speaker is the sole operating consciousness mourning in a world where everyone else is asleep. Against the pitch black darkness, he starts saying things to himself, using white words, which I take to mean words that have a kind of unselfconscious purity about them. He daydreams about his mother, an autumnal recollection, and then in turn moves him back toward his childhood home, where his mother seems still to reside. Although much diminished over an outmoded world, she is smaller, more vulnerable, someone to be protected. Matu, he says tenderly, in Czech, mu mamanitu, my little mummy, which the translator has rendered as my diminutive mom. He imagined after all these years, she's still sitting there, quietly uncomplaining, thinking about his father who died so long ago. And that concludes our final paragraph. And I suppose, unless someone else has something to say, concludes today's Live Poets Society meeting. Thank you all for coming.
Don't we have Tenny Chapel Music Night?
Oh, yeah, tomorrow night, 6:30 at Tenny Chapel. We have 90 minutes of free family entertainment. Starts at 6:30, ends promptly at 8 o'clock, and there'll be 6 acts on the concert stage that will be performing one after the other. Dr. Davis over here will be one of those, and Roger Berry will be one, George Jordan will be one of them, a auto harp player by the name of James Barron will be one, Larry Gamble and Mike Holt from Whitman will be there, Chris Martinson will be performing with Doc. That's about all I can think of right off the top of my head.
And the original troubadour.
Huh?
And the original troubadour. George Jordan.
Oh, I mentioned him a minute ago, but I'll mention he concludes every show. George Jordan, the original Tenny Chapel Troubadour, is always our concluding act, unless on some special occasion he can't be there or he doesn't want to. He occasionally has, when our district superintendent has performed there, he has always asked me to let the district superintendent close rather than him. But other than that, he's always our closing act, and he will be tomorrow night. And I think he's going to do a medley of Eddie Arnold songs. Woo! Okay. Thanks for coming. And thanks so much to Culture Club, Arts Gallery, for hosting us, Mr. Ditzo. We appreciate it.